Donald Trump's corruption is getting increasingly out of hand, and thankfully now there are some people taking it seriously. You probably remember just a week or two ago when Mike Pence was in Ireland and decided, you know what, rather than stay on the side of the country that I'm actually having my meetings in, I'll stay at a Trump property and fly back and forth, costing the US taxpayer tons of money that goes to Donald Trump and his family. Well, now we've got a case that might even be more significant. Certainly in monetary terms, it's more significant. And it has to do with an Air National Guard crew. Early spring of this year, it's flying to Kuwait, bringing supplies, it's traveling there, it's traveling back. And what's interesting is where it stopped. Now, on previous trips to the Middle East, this C-17 aircraft had landed at US air bases such as Ramstein Air Base in Germany or Naval Station Rota in Spain to refuel. But in this particular case, it stopped at Prestwick Airport next to Turnberry Resort. That is Donald Trump's luxury resort in Scotland. For some reason, this is not a thing that had generally happened. And so this was reported early on. This is by Bender and Bertrand of Politico. Great work there. We're gonna talk to you about the details. But that has apparently just been sort of the beginnings, because we're now finding out that there were a lot of stops of a lot of planes at this particular location that had previously not been patronized very much. And apparently it's being investigated behind the scenes. Since April, the House Oversight Committee has been investigating why the crew made the unusual stay, both en route to the Middle East and on the way back. And have since found out that the military has spent $11 million on fuel alone at the Prestwick Airport near Trump's Turnberry Resort since fall of 2017. So a limited period of time, a lot of money. And reporting by The Guardian found the airport had provided discounted rooms and complimentary rounds of golf at the Trump resort for some US military members. The expenditures are unusual, given buying fuel for Prestwick Airport costs the government and us more than refueling at military bases, such as nearby Lakenheath Air Base in England. And why this is particularly significant and why the location is significant is that there's the possibility that the military has helped keep that resort afloat. It lost $4.5 million in 2017, but revenue went up $3 million by the next year once the US military began patronizing it far more, that and the airport attached next to it. So we're gonna have some tweets from the reporters who initially produced this reporting, but pretty fascinating so far.
Yeah, this is the 8th or so time that we have found out that somehow someone has somewhere been directed to help the president make personal money. And not only that there is just, I feel like even more than ever before, and I do know that people have been punished for, government employees for criticizing the president before. I know that, I've seen that. But that there are so many behind the scenes directives to support him. Regardless of, and then you find out people are like, I had to, and they felt it was kind of wrong, or they thought it was kind of weird. We saw it with the National Weather Service, and so it's just
over the weekend, yeah.
Yeah, and so
just in case people didn't see that, a directive went out to employees of NOAA, I think it was.
Yeah, it was NOAA.
Said,
yeah.
Don't contradict the president when he talks about the weather. So forget your science, forget the interest of the public. If he says something's gonna happen, it's not on you as an expert. Your responsibility to the public is gone. Don't worry about that, don't contradict him.
Or cover up John McCain's father's name, grandfather's name.
Yeah.
What was it,
Yeah. The US John McCain. I thought it was actually John McCain.
Was it named after John?
I don't remember exactly, but it was a McCain, and it had to be covered.
Right. And now this, which everyone involved seems to think did not make any sense. This story, and I know we're gonna get into it a little bit more, but
yeah,
that's so beyond. I don't know. It's just where we are right now.
Yeah, and look,
support him and pay him.
Support him and definitely support him financially. And so we've seen GOP has been using Trump properties just nonstop. And it would have been bad enough if politicians were giving him money effectively. If they had also been doing it before, if they were still going to the same places, that would still be kind of corrupt. The guy's president now, he's in politics, don't just keep doing that.
Right.
But an analysis showed that those same members of the GOP had not been staying at Trump properties before he became president. So suddenly they're giving him money. Saudi government officials, other foreign government officials are now using Trump properties. Obviously, Donald Trump is staying at Trump properties virtually every weekend. That is our money going to him. So since he became president, he has been funneling as much money as humanly possible into his own pockets. And it's like, I feel like we have it as our leadoff story today. Obviously, we think it's important, but like most people think it's like, why you keep beating this drum? Like, is it really worth talking about? Like, it's just millions of dollars. Why would a billionaire care about that? And like, the idea that corruption is just okay, like there's so much of it. What's the point at this point? And I just think that that's insane to me. That we would just allow this to go on.
That this is a bigger level than what we see in a lot of local governments. You can go into like find out how much the mayor's chair costs in different cities and small towns. Find out how much they're spending on food and catering services for city council meetings and things like that. And it's crazy because it's always in towns where people can't afford to buy dinner.
Yeah.
There are people that could use the money from a $1,500 chair to buy medication, to eat. And so it is important because it keeps happening, and now it's happening at on such a bigger level, such a massive level. And we're talking about, like buying drinks, buying, these ridiculous hotel stays, the ridiculous flight money and all just to support the president financially when people can't buy medicine, can't buy winter coats when they need them, can't buy food in this country. It's absurd. Yeah, we should always care about it. And I'm glad that you keep pointing it out.
It's interesting that you point out the not being able to buy food because that's actually a really funny component of this story. Yeah. So here's a couple of tweets that followed up the original reporting. This is from Natasha Bertrand, one of the original reporters of this story. So she said, one crew member was so struck by the choice of hotel, Trump's resort, markedly different than the Marriotts and Hiltons the 176 maintenance squadron is used to, that he texted someone close to him and said the crew's per diem allowance wasn't enough to cover food and drinks at the ritzy resort. So that's how out of place this is, that they're given money to buy this stuff when they have to stay over somewhere, when they're not at a base. But in this case, it wasn't enough. They couldn't actually afford food and drinks because the place is so expensive. And again, all the money that they did spend, that was our money, taxpayer money, that now is Trump money. His family benefited from that. She also said it should be noted that the military spent $11 million on fuel. It's of course, like as we pointed out, it's much cheaper at US military bases, which matters to the military, it matters to the taxpayer, but it doesn't matter if you're the one personally benefiting from that. And what's interesting is, as I said, this is apparently bigger than we thought it was. The US Air Force says it's been using Prestwick Airports, Glasgow's struggling secondary airport, for refueling since 2015, but the number has been going up significantly. So there were 40 overnight stays in 2015. By this year, just the first 9 or 10 months, there's been 220. So it had been used occasionally, once a week on average, back a few years ago, but now it's being used many times per week. Now what's interesting is that the president is going to claim to have no connection to it, but we have info on that as well. First of all, though, I want you to know that we said it's been being investigated since April. Congress is back in session now, actually, I think as of this week, and they're going to be on this story, including AOC, who tweeted, "The president is corrupt and must be impeached," in response to this story. She has shown a great willingness and staying focused on these corruption stories. So hopefully this is something that she will be harshly questioning people in the near future. Now, Trump says that he had nothing to do with the plane staying there, pretending that it was only one plane, one time, which is not the case. He also says he has nothing to do with Prestwick Airport. And what's awesome about that is, as soon as he had tweeted that, Natasha Bertrand, who had the receipts ready to go, tweeted this. As we reported last night, it wasn't just one plane. And then the Trump Organization and Prestwick also announced a partnership back in 2014, showing this massive investment in the area and some sort of deal with the airport. And that's very easy to understand and believe because, as we already pointed out, the airport is providing discounted stays and complimentary golf at the resort. So clearly there's a financial relationship where they're getting some sort of benefit and then they're funneling people over to the resort to stay there. So Trump claimed he had no connection. It was on the books, press release. He was happy to announce in 2014 that they had that relationship. Suddenly he forgets about it. And so, I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily a crime to lie about this corruption, but I have a feeling that people are gonna be very curious about it in the near future. Here on the Damage Report, we talk a lot about the big banks and their ways of getting rich off the poor. They saturate the market, but there are other options. And I've got info on a socially and environmentally responsible financial institution that has no ATM fees, gives you cash back on every purchase. They even commit 10% of their earnings to charity. It's called Aspiration, and if you go to aspiration.com/TYT to sign up, you'll get these perks, and that's more money to spend or to save or to spend. Just treat yourself.